Yes, we continue. What It Takes Radio presents the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience, and this is adventure number 3. Very simply, how Jesus sells because he does. And here's the story.
Well, greetings and thank you for coming back. This is part 2 of how to be a world-class Jesus entrepreneur by seeking and choosing what we call the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. Well, the first part of our program was very challenging in many ways, I hope, but it was about Jesus and how we can begin to view him quite differently. Now, we're going to go into part 2, and this is not only about Jesus, but it's also about you, because in response to this Jesus, there are things that we're going to learn that will be a bit challenging to you. And already I know that the title gave some people a sense of, they're uncomfortable with that. How Jesus sells? Thinking of Jesus as a salesman doesn't seem to match our usual expectations. We've never really thought of calling him that. We can maybe deal with this entrepreneur thing, but a salesman? Jesus is a salesman? Well, I'm hoping to ease some of your cautions and fears, and I will tell you that there will be nothing here that will be terribly shocking or frightening or heretical. In fact, I think that you will find that it's very much in line with the story that we have and the methods that Jesus proclaims and performs. It'll work. Just trust me for this, and I'll demonstrate that your trust will be worthwhile. And I'm going to start with a very unusual film that this clip goes back to a film many years ago. The film was called Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, and it was a film in 1959, won about 11 Academy Awards. It was world famous. And it's a story, as it says, a tale of the Christ. And Judah Ben-Hur is a prominent Jewish leader, young leader in the city of Jerusalem. And it just so happens that they find out that a new tribune has come from Rome to be the leader of the Roman legions in Jerusalem. And then, to Judah's surprise, it turns out that the new Roman leader, he knows. In fact, he was a young boy who was the son of a Roman soldier stationed in Jerusalem, and they were playmates. They were friends. They were childhood buddies. And now Judah, of course, is a grown leader, and now his friend, the Roman, is coming back, and he is the tribune. He is the leader. And they come together, and obviously it's a little bit of an awkward meeting. And right away, Judah's Roman friend says, I want to be a friend, but you know that this is very important to me. And there's a lot of people who are troublemakers in Jerusalem, and I expect your full cooperation in helping keep things in line. Well, Judah finds this. He says, you can't ask me to turn against my people. I I will give you no harm. I will do no harm, but I can't shame out or push out other people. Uh, I can't do that. I'll be a good citizen. Well, that ending conversation leaves some tension. Later, very shortly after that, there is a Roman parade that takes place because the new leader wants to show his power. And Judah and his sister and his mother are watching from the rooftop patio of their very nice home. And it just so happens that the sister, in leaning over, pushes a roofing tile that slides down and then goes and crashes right in the middle of the parade. And the horses are startled, they rear up, and the Roman leaders are literally thrown from their horses. And they could have been hurt quite badly. Well, the soldiers run in and they capture these people, and what it turns out is that Judah, his sister and his mother are sent to jail. And his mother and his sister, they are sent to the dungeons, but Judah has a worse fate. He is sentenced to the Roman galleys. That means he will be taken to the sea, the Mediterranean, and he will be put on a Roman galley ship, and he will die there. He will die there rowing for the Roman Navy. So he's off. Well, what happens is that these men, all bound for this destiny, are then being taken, bound together, and they're led through the desert by a Roman legionnaire, and they're off to their fate in the Roman galleys. And it is a terrible scene, but they go through the city of Nazareth and they break for water. But as Judah tries to get water from and the people rush out to try and help these poor souls, and the Romans let them give these people water. But what happens is that the Roman legionnaire has it in for Judah Ben-Hur, and he forbids him to have any water. And that's where this scene begins.
Wait! No water for him.
God, help me.
You! I said no water for him! All right, on your feet, all of you. Get them on their feet. Back in line, you dog! On your feet. Get them going. You there! Back to your place! Back to your place! Forward, you dogs!
Every time I see that scene, it just moves me. Incredible. Yes. What was Jesus doing between the age of 12 and the age of 30, in which we have no record of who he was or what he was about? But guess what? Amazing. Jesus walks on the scene And the Roman soldier backs off. There was something about his presence, something about his very persona, something about the look in his eyes, something about the strength not only of his body but his soul and character, that the Roman soldier senses it and he backs off. His very persona is powerful. And of course, Judah is overwhelmed. And later on, the story will come back, of course, and he remembers the man who saved his life by giving him water. Well, even after Jesus begins his ministry, we have the scene where he opens up the scrolls and said, "I'm the man, the one you've been looking for. It's me." And of course, these people are shocked. This is the boy that grew up, the son of the carpenter, the handyman. Now he's claiming that he's the very Messiah? Well, if you read the story, they're going to kill him. They are taking him off, and they're going to throw him off a cliff. They have to. The law requires it. And of course, Scripture tells us that they didn't do it. And there are many reasons why they didn't do it, but one of them I think is quite clear. It says in one of the translations that I love, and he walked right through them. Yeah. Came to it, he turns and says, "No, you're not going to kill me. This is not the time. You're not going to do it." And he walks right through them. I oftentimes say the world stands aside for the man or woman who knows who they are and where they're going. And certainly he knew who he was and where he was going. And I just simply point this out as a way of helping you think, first of all, that there must have been something in that 18 years. What was Jesus doing? Well, first of all, it seems he was working with his hands. He was making things, building things, fixing things. And I love in the story we've seen of the chosen, where once Jesus is just getting ready to start, he's camping out, and the children are attracted to him. In fact, some of his first disciples are the children, at least in that version, and I love that idea. He reaches the children before he even reaches the adults, and he's making little toys for them. He's a maker. He's a maker of things. But he must have been running the shop, because I can imagine that finally when he told his family, "Well, I'm taking up my tools and I'm going to start a new calling." And of course, his mother, well, what's up now? It appears she doesn't have Joseph, her husband, around. She has her son, her oldest son, who obviously is quite a strong man, and the other children. But what is she going to do? And of course, it seems that they're concerned. He was probably the top salesman. Who got the business? Who was the one who made the shop work? Well, it was probably Jesus. So he had learned to build relationships, had friendships within the community, was well respected. It says he grew in knowledge, he grew in wisdom, and in favor with God and man. He was one of the good guys. People knew they could trust him. He would do a good day's work. He would charge fair prices. He would make sure that the customer was satisfied. Yes, obviously between the ages of 12 and 30, he had to sell. He had to sell himself. He had to sell his business, his company, his services, his products. Please keep in mind these three wonderful expressions. Jesus sells. Jesus serves. Jesus saves. Now, one of the reasons I point this out is to help you understand that it is very important, as I oftentimes tell people, before anybody will buy your product, before they will buy your service, before they will buy anything from you, they have to buy you. You are the product. You are the service. You are the message. You have to learn the art of what I call personal performance marketing and selling, and your persona, how you appear, how you meet eye to eye, how you smile, how you grin, how you laugh, your sense of humor, all of that. How you treat children, how you treat people who are older, how you show people and treat people as if they are the most important people in the world. That's what you do. Now, some of you have noticed I've changed ties. Well, that's intentional. You see, this is who I am. And some of you said, you kind of dress up kind of formal. Yeah, well, I'll tell you why. That's me. That's who I am. I don't do casual well. It's not like that. Maybe it goes back to the point in my childhood when we were poor and so many of my clothes were hand-me-downs and ones that weren't very nice. And so one of the things that when I finally got into the life of work, I wanted to have nice clothes and I wanted to have nice shoes and I wanted to have nice things. It's important for me to have a nice personal appearance. So I work hard at that. And as I get older and older, I have to be even more careful about that. I want to communicate that I have energy, that I have personality, that I'm very much aware of my appearance, and I want to do that well. So that is very important to me, that I maintain a good personal appearance. Yes. And now, what about you? What about you? You do make the difference. I oftentimes wish there was a particular young woman who is incredibly talented in our congregation. And she has incredible gifts. But there's times where my wife and I just simply would like to be able to sit down and say, let us help you. Because she isn't dirty or sloppy, but there is so much more that could be done if she would just give a little more time and attention, particularly because she's in the business of trying to get people to do a lot of things. She's selling all the time. And there are ways where we think she could have a little more influence and personal power if she just would turn it up in terms of her personal appearance a notch or two. We're convinced of it. We'll never bring it up unless we're asked, and that probably won't happen. But I just ask you now, take an audit of your clothes, of your appearance. As I say, remember, all business is show business. What kind of costumes do you have? What are they? How do you wear? How do you live in the world in terms of your personal appearance? Now, one person said to me, well, Stan, Jesus, I'm sure he didn't dress fancy at all, and that's me. And I said, well, we don't know how he dressed. We do know that his cloak was so nice that the Romans started to gamble over who would get it. I don't know quite all that means, but it seems he was wearing a very nice coat. So all of those things that we have had in terms of our own perceptions of Jesus Just simply sometimes put them aside and be ready to look, as I've said, look at him in new and powerful ways. And then we also discover that during this 18 years, he had become good friends, bosom buddies, with a cousin, John. Yes. And they're very much alike and very different. They're kind of, I can imagine they were real rascals because that's just kind of their appearance. They were they they were probably guys who made people smile and people shook their heads. Oh, there's that Jesus and John again. I wonder what they're up to now. Well, of course, it is John who is his public relations. He announces him. And so before Jesus makes the major appearance, he has someone who announces him, who introduces him, who endorses him, who says, a good new thing is coming, and this is the guy. He's the one. He's the one. He's the one you should listen to. He's the right one. And I will tell you, nothing is more powerful than good recommendations. You can do all of the sales and marketing stunts and tips and techniques, but recommendations. And I don't even sometimes use the word referral. Someone would say, well, how can I help you? And I'd say, I would be grateful if you'd recommend me to others. Things that will help us be the kind of people that people want to introduce people to, and they will in effect be people who will show the way, that will recommend the way. And John was one of those. And Jesus had him in his initial group of people who were helping him as he began his own mission. Well, there's more to come. But as we say, this is going to be a little bit longer, so we're going to break it up into two parts. But I do want you, as we kind of change reels here and go into the second part of adventure number 3, to think about some of the things you've heard so far. And then we're going to look at the real powerful, very specific ways that Jesus really was. He was the guy. He was the man. He was the master salesman. And let me show you how he did just that.